We were just saying that aggressive increase in music volume, I think, meant it's time to go. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for waiting while we got the session started. We did that because of live streaming, not because we like you to just sit and wait for us to talk. So thank you so much for your patience with that. And like I said, for choosing to join our session. So we're actually competing with another Agent 365 session at the same time. It's a friendly competition. But in the room next door, there's a session about Agent 365 security value. You've chosen to be here. This already tells me a little bit about you. I'm very glad you are here. And I'm glad that we have a chance to talk to you about everything that we're unlocking with Agent 365. So introductions first. My name is Caroline Stanford. I am a Senior Director for Product Marketing for Microsoft 365. I will be joined soon by my colleague, Ray Smith, who I can now officially and unapologetically introduce as VP for Agent 365. If you were eagle eyes in the catalog earlier, you might have seen that title already. But Ray and his team have been bringing this product to life, and I'm excited for him to get to show you more about how it works. We are really at a turning point, we believe, in the way that work is getting done. And today we're going to show you how governed AI agents, so agents that have been built for the enterprise, are managed by the enterprise, can unlock real impact for your teams. When IT gets control and visibility to keep their agents secure and manageable, innovation can happen with confidence, not with compromise. So last year, and I work for 𝗦𝗲𝗍𝗬𝗏, so if you've seen him in the last 8 to 12 months, you have seen this slide, probably a lot, actually. We use this slide frequently. But we talked about this first at Ignite last year. And this was really our vision of Copilot as the UI for AI, an integrated solution that empowers every user with an AI assistant. And we talked a bit about the role of agents and the possibilities that unlocked when you could apply agentic capabilities across business processes and into workflows across your organization. If we're being really honest with ourselves, we probably have spent a lot more time on the left-hand side of the slide. And as you saw from the announcements over the last couple days, whether that was Work IQ or agent mode in the apps and in chat, voice in Copilot, there was a particularly fun demo with ordering t-shirts, which I enjoyed a lot. I hope you did as well. We've certainly continued to drive innovation to make sure that Copilot is the most capable AI productivity tool on the market and the one that is truly built for work. But as is the new normal in this era that we find ourselves in these days, a lot has also changed since last year. So in today's environment, the demands on every business have only continued to grow. And it's not just the whole do more with less thing that we all like to talk about. It's confronting the reality of higher and higher expectations to get greater output from a workforce that is frankly pretty tapped out. When we surveyed global employees across 30 different countries in our most recent Work Trend Index report, 80% of them told us that they already do not have the time or energy to do the work that's ahead of them. The number of hours in a day has not changed. Technology has not gotten that far yet, at least as far as I can tell. But the needs have continued to grow. And that's where the potential of agents has gone from sort of this interesting idea, or maybe a cool demo, or even sort of a clever bit of automation that runs in some probably really operational part of your organization, to something that is so much more meaningful. Agents are going to offer an always-on capacity boost that increases the efficiency and the output of both individuals and teams. Agents can be integrated into all of their workflows, in all of the places where they actually get things done. And in the case of Microsoft 365 Copilot, those agents can be grounded in the unique context of the organization, the relationships you have with the people you work with, how you work as a team, what types of assets you use, what you typically produce. So if the first wave of productivity gains from this Gen AI era that we find ourselves in was really as an assistant supporting an individual user, now we're at the point where agents can take entire tasks off of our plate. And so the hours that we do have, again, which have not magically increased sometime in the last 2 years, the hours that we do have and the hours we do dedicate to work can be focused on the most meaningful things in front of you not just the loudest or the busiest thing that's yelling for your attention. So those things like that weekly status email that always takes forever to assemble. I know I have one I send. I swear it takes me, before agents, an hour and a half to pull together from all of these different sources. And you spend all that time and energy and you send it out to have everyone maybe read it once, if we're being generous with ourselves. Or that proposal that you're building for the 10th time, and you're doing copy and paste surgery from 12 different files that look exactly the same as the thing that you need to build, but inserting the new names and the new details. And you realize, like, why am I doing this? Like, this is the same file that I have already built. Again, pre-agent era, huge amount of time. Not a huge amount of impact from that amount of work. So this type of work doesn't just take the time we don't have. It actually takes mental energy from the other parts of your job where you could deploy creativity and innovation. When you're deploying agents to take that drudgery, and I love that word. You can tell me if you hate it, but I love the word drudgery. When you're deploying agents to take the drudgery off your plate, you're sort of creating the freedom to focus on the things that really move the needle. And this is why in that same survey that I was mentioning earlier, the Work Trend Index report, 82% of leaders told us that they plan to adopt some form of digital labor, agentic workforce expansion, pick your favorite words. They plan to adopt it in the next 12 to 18 months to increase the capacity of their organization and, importantly, unlock human potential. Those are the words that we used. As we all know in IT, 12 to 18 months in IT years, that's like tomorrow, or actually maybe like yesterday. You've seen this slide before, maybe 3 times already. I'm showing it again because we like it a lot. But this is why we see this expansion. So IDC estimates that the number of companies using agentic AI will triple in the next 2 years, and we will see 1.3 billion agents by 2028. Now, Ray and I were talking about this. Between our own trajectory, because we can tell you, so we can have a sense of what's happening at Microsoft, and what we've heard from partners and customers, our bet is that this number actually proves to be fairly conservative, which is amazing, right? You know, I was just talking about the benefits of what agents can do, the drudgery removal, what that can gain. But that is also a lot. It is a big number. It's a lot to manage. And it's a lot to put on IT, who's trying to actually run fast and get the gains of that agentic AI. Trying to do both at the same time without rebuilding your entire infrastructure or coming up with ways to meet the demand for agents without exposing yourself to some sort of chaos in your midst to manage. So our vision for how to address this challenge is actually pretty simple. You could start from scratch. You could piece together a bunch of sort of bespoke solutions. Money on, you probably have already thought about different solutions, or you've been talking to different vendors who offer sort of different pieces of this puzzle. That is one thing you could do. Or you could leverage the existing infrastructure that you already have for managing users. And that's not just about time savings or change management, although both of those things are true. This is about leveraging your investment. You have already invested in establishing policies and norms and behaviors. You know your ecosystem. How do users interact with data? What are you comfortable with doing? What is your risk profile? With Agent 365, we're trying to let you leverage that strength, the organizational knowledge you already have, and apply it into a comprehensive agent management solution. This is why we're so excited to announce Agent 365. It says today, we can now. It's available yesterday, technically, if you're just keeping track. But the availability of Agent 365, which is the control plane for all of your agents. Ray's going to touch on this as well, but that's really important, all of them. Not just agents that were built in Microsoft 365 platforms, but agents that were created on open source frameworks, agents that were created on third-party platforms, and more. So just as Microsoft 365 unlocks security and productivity for your users, Agent 365 does the same thing for your agents. So think about it this way. What happens when you decide to bring a user into your ecosystem? Well, first you have to find them. right? And they come to you with skills and experiences. You hired them for a reason. You hired them to do a specific job. And what do? You give them a laptop, you give them a badge, maybe you give them office space. Some of you may be in a like post-office space reality, I don't know. But then you give them an identity. And once that user has an identity, you can apply policies and protections to how they're going to interact with your ecosystem. You can give them access to your corporate data. You can load them up with tools and solutions to do their jobs. Agent 365 aims to enable a similar path for agents. You will build and acquire agents from lots of sources. Some of them will be ours. Some of them will be open source. Some of them will be third-party agents. They will have a range of skills, and you will want them to do different jobs, depending on what the agent is and what it was designed to do. With Agent 365, every agent also has an identity. And this identity allows you to then endow the agent with capabilities and tools, including the same productivity tools that your users are working in, and to protect the agent's behaviors with policies and security to give the agent controlled and secure access to your organizational resources and data. So not only are your agents equipped and more powerful than they would have been before you applied Agent 365, IT also gets total observability and control. So that's our vision for Agent 365. You may have seen these before. I'm going to run through them because it's really important to understand, okay, what is this thing? What am I getting when I sign up for this concept that is Agent 365? You should think of it as 5 core capabilities. The first one is registry. You cannot manage what you cannot see. Step 1 is the ability to get a complete view of all the agents within your organization. Agents that have an agent ID, agents that you've registered, and importantly, shadow agents, agents you may not know about, but need to bring under control. The second core capability is access control. And this is really about bringing agents under management and limiting their access to the resources that they need for their job, not the resources of the person who happened to create them, or even the user who's decided to use them. So this is about preventing agent compromise with risk-based conditional access policy. The third big capability area is visualization. I hope you've seen a demo on this already. If not, please come see us on the booth. This is about a lot more than just monitoring. Monitoring is great. You should start with monitoring. But the next step is really to be able to see the connections between agents and data, agents and users, agents and other agents. What is actually happening when these agents are deployed within your organization? And by then leveraging deeper analytics, you can understand whether you're getting the performance and output of those agents that you expect in real time, and what the impact of the agents are on your organization. When we say interop, what we're talking about is giving agents access to the same productivity and tools that your users use, so they can do real work in real things, not just produce some sort of text chain that lives in a siloed chat window somewhere that you've got to then make useful. So when you endow these agents with these capabilities, they're producing Word files like your users are. They can share those Word files in a SharePoint that you use already. And when you're connected with WorkIQ, your agents from everywhere can take advantage of your organizational knowledge and all of the intelligence about that context of both how your business works, what the relationships are between stakeholders, and more. And then finally, security. So this is really around protecting agents from threats and vulnerabilities. Threats and vulnerabilities that are targeted to agents specifically. And this is a great example of where we start with the foundation of what we already have from a Defender, from an Entra, from a Purview perspective, and then go to the next step, helping you detect and investigate and remediate all of the attacks that may be coming at agents specifically, and interestingly, protecting the data that agents create. If you are putting agents to work, they're going to be building things for you. And you want to make sure that you're not introducing any sort of oversharing or leakage risk or risky agent behavior. So we're obviously super enthusiastic about this idea. If you were watching before the show started, we have little stickers that say agent that has a little icon on it. You would have sworn this was like a Taylor Swift signed CD copy. Like this row of people that I work with, we're clamoring for these stickers. There's a lot of enthusiasm. But it's not just us. So it has been amazing to see the support that we've gotten from all different types of partners across the broader AI ecosystem, who have really shared our vision for the need for robust tools to discover and manage and secure agents all in one place. So dozens of partners have already joined us to make sure that their agents can work with Agent 365, from really large app building platforms to AI-first startups. And together, we can meet a really critical need for our mutual customers. I want to show you how 2 of these partners are already working with Agent 365 to deliver on this value, and I am going to start with Glean. I think it's one more click. Okay.
Glean is a work AI platform that puts your company's knowledge to work. Understanding data from Microsoft, ServiceNow, Atlassian, and 100+ apps. With Agent 365, you get that context right where you work, the Microsoft 365 suite. Glean now comes integrated with Microsoft Agent 365. Tenant administrators at 𝗦𝗲𝗀𝗸𝗀𝗁 can see Glean in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center and is able to understand what Glean can do, all within the boundaries of enterprise trust, security, and observability. Let's check it out. As a PM, I write PRDs for new features. I'll ask Glean to draft a PRD for a customer implementation project, pulling in relevant context from backlog and support cases. This PRD looks solid. Now I can invite the team to review, leave comments, and even ask Glean clarifying questions directly in Word, so I don't have to field every question and can focus on delivery. This is one example, but a telling one. Glean took me from draft to finished PRD in one pass, matching our PRD style from past docs, and it stays with me through brainstorming, clarifying requirements, and answering questions across Word, Teams, Excel, PowerPoint, and more. We got real work done today. Explore it in the Microsoft Agent Store.
Okay, awesome. So as you saw from that video, integrating with Agent 365 is enabling Glean to deliver their secure, enterprise-grade AI directly in the daily workflow of their Microsoft 365 users. I want to take a look at one more really great example, and this time it's from Genspark.
Genspark Super Agent revolutionizes how teams turn ideas into execution, creating presentations, videos, microsites, and more in minutes instead of months. Inside the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, the user acquires the Genspark Super Agent and assigns access to team members. In Microsoft Teams, the agent appears in the org chart with its email ID ready to collaborate. The team, preparing for an upcoming presentation, asks Genspark to help. For a marketing campaign, the user provides context on the Coffee Bean product line. Instantly, the agent delivers a tailored, professionally formatted presentation. Realizing competitive insights are critical, the user requests edits. Genspark integrates charts, benchmarks, and market positioning seamlessly. Next, the user needs a campaign website, a task that traditionally takes hours. With a simple request, Genspark builds a beautifully designed interactive site in minutes, reflecting the product line and campaign goals. Compliance and security remain top priority. Microsoft Purview captures audit logs for observability, while Defender Advanced Hunting tracks agent activity for proactive threat detection. With Agent 365 and Genspark, complex tasks across Teams and Outlook become effortless.
I love the music we picked. It's very jaunty. OK, so by integrating with Agent 365, Genspark brings the power of their super agent directly into the surfaces where Microsoft 365 users are already working, while their customers also get to leverage all the capabilities of Microsoft's enterprise-grade security and IT guardrails. We are really thrilled to have such a strong cadre of launch partners. And we are excited to see this list continue to grow rapidly in the coming weeks. So I've just shown you two really compelling examples of how agents can increase productivity in the flow of work with Agent 365. But agents are only valuable if employees will actually use them. As you've heard me just today, and frankly from a lot of us, talk about Agent 365 and talk about the capabilities, we've mostly been talking about IT value and security value. And that is really important. But as I transition to Ray here in a second, and he walks through the product experience of Agent 365, I want you to also think about the way that this value would show up for your end users. We believe that the key to unlocking agent adoption at scale and getting all the goodness from the drudgery removal that I was talking about earlier is trust. Trusted IT, for sure, but also trust with your employees. How do I, as an individual employee, ensure that this agent I'm using is actually doing the thing I want it to do? Is it good? Do I like it? Agent 365 brings transparency and tooling to end users as well, so that they can start to delegate tasks and get all those benefits with confidence. Because when agents can start to take off processes and bodies of work off the plate of people, my update email is a great example, they stop being those tools that just sit in a catalog that nobody ever uses, that you spend a lot of time enabling and no one ever clicks on it. They stop being that, and they start being truly a workforce multiplier. So I'm going to pass it over to Ray, who's going to show you a bit of Agent 365 in action.
Good job, Carolyn.
Thanks.
Hey everyone, so I'm Ray Smith. I've been leading agents and autonomous agents for the last couple of years, and obviously the new project that we were working on is all around Agents 365. So as you've heard from Carolyn and over the last couple of days, the future of agents is here. It's fundamentally redefining how work gets done, automating tasks, redefining processes, and ultimately helping all of us to make faster, quicker decisions. But as these agents multiply very rapidly across your organization, across your teams, across platforms, across vendors, across pro-code, low-code, the biggest thing we had heard from all our customers was, how do we secure and govern them? Obviously, Carolyn has touched on that, but we also want to move into how these agents, once they're secured and governed, can be a key unlock for our productivity, raising our ambition level to get more work done more efficiently. So we're going to talk through a couple of examples today and show you a real live demo. The key to this is really security and governance at the center of this really helps IT, our CISOs, and our enterprise as a whole feel comfortable around these agents showing up on the workflow, showing up like a digital teammate, fully compliant with associated policies and so on. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into a bit of a demo. And as a bit of a setup, before I switch over to this laptop, I'm going to set the scene for two personas in the organization. So for a line of business worker, an information worker, I'm going to pick a procurement manager. This procurement manager has to deal with purchase requests from customers in emails, POs, goes off to ERP, lives in Excel, has to deal with a lot of supplier communications. It is the perfect example for where agents can help with, as Caroline said, the drudgery. I sometimes say misery, but that's because I'm Irish. So we're going to cover off, in this case, a procurement manager persona in the flow of work. But I'd be remiss not to cover off the IT admin that unlocked this and made this happen, to make sure this agent had the guardrails, the policies, the controls, all linked to the identity that allowed this agent to show up in the flow of work. So I'm going to switch over, and I'm going to put my procurement hat on. So the first thing I would do when I want to get some busy work done is I would go to an app store. I was like, there's an app for that. So I'm going to go into Teams store, I'm going to search for an agent. So I'm going to have a look across this agent, and you will see, first of all, if my mouse works, that there's an agents filter. I can also see there's an agents for your team. So these are agents that have been predefined and set up for my department. And in this case, I can actually spot a 𝗦𝗲𝗸𝗸𝗀 procurement agent. Now, if I zoom in here, so you can kind of see a bit more detail, if you're optically challenged like myself, you will see what this agent can do. This is the agent manifest. And the other thing you may notice at the very top is the fact that this says create an instance. This is not have access. If this wasn't set up by my organization, this would say get access or request access. But in this case, it says create an instance. So this will be my own flavor of this agent, grounded on information that I give it, with personalization, granular controls around this agent. Now, this is critical because if you've got an East Coast team, a West Coast team, a different geography, you're selling product A versus product B, this configuration, tailoring, and personalization becomes really key. So let's go ahead and create a bit of an instance. So I'm going to set up a 𝗦𝗲𝗸𝗸𝗀 procurement agent. So this feels a little too easy. So I'm going to switch now to the IT admin just to give you a sense of what was set up to make this so easy, just from the Teams agent store. So I'm going to switch to M365 Admin Center, or MAC, as some of you know it. So this is the Agent 365 overview, where you can see the full left to right of all your agents across your estate. It has all of the registry, and if I drill down, you will see the total list of all of those agents backed by Enter ID. Just like Caroline said, similar to what we do for people. Now, as agents will come through from this marketplace or any other future marketplaces, they will be set up with either pre-approvals to go straight through and be approved, or come through IT admin to review and assess risk. So you could drill down into these agents, look up the data and tools, the security, compliance, permissions, and you could make the decision on approving this agent. And this is where you stamp that agent with the policies, the guardrails, the licenses, all the tools and permissions that it would need. But in our case, it has already been set up. We can see the 𝗦𝗲𝗸𝗸𝗀 procurement agent has already been pre-approved. So IT have done the heavy lifting here, have approved this agent. So I'm going to switch back to our procurement manager. So here we see the procurement 𝗦𝗲𝗸𝗸𝗀 procurement agent that was set up. Now, it's proactively reached out to me over Teams. First of all, you notice this has its own identity. This is like any other user or employee pinging you over Teams. So the 𝗦𝗲𝗸𝗸𝗀 procurement agent has reached out, and if I zoom in here, you can see a little of what it's prompting. So this is a proactive reach out. So it tells me it can parse emails, Teams threads, looking for purchase requests. It can look up approved suppliers, connect to ERP, create POs, and hand off for budget checks. But it's given me one action. This is where we think agents is going to be key for this onboarding, the initial configuration. The vast majority of this agent will be pre-set up, but there'll be slight personalization or configurations linked to these agents for, say, product A versus product B, or how you handle HR requests in country A versus country B, and so on. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to be a very obliging person and give it the information it needs. So I'm going to drop into a document. So I have a policy guide here for our procurement department, something I would give to a new joiner in the team. Very similar to what I would do with a person. I will copy this link, and I would go back to the chat and say, here is the policy doc. Okay. And just like that, it's shared that document with the agent, and the agent is responding going, thanks for that information. I'm going to use that as that configuration. Those configurations could be your payment terms. It could be configuration around how you like to run the process and so on, all connected to the agent. So now that I've got the agent, I've done the onboarding or the initial configuration. The first thing on my mind is, how do I test this? What would I do to interact with it? I could start interacting, asking questions of, hey, what do you do? I'm actually going to go back to the flow of work where I normally work. And in this case, you'll see I've got a PO tracker in Excel. So I've got an Excel here tracking all the POs, and I can see a few in red where it's drifted behind. So I'm going to just create a comment, look for my Java agent, and I'm going to say, what is the status? Oh, that helped. All right. So that might take a few seconds to come back, but I will show you a few examples of what would happen before. I'll zoom in over here. So you can see right in the flow of work, one I just did a few moments ago, where I asked for the status on a particular PO, any risks. It went off, checked the ERP, checked the various systems, and came back with a summary right in the flow of work. That saves me having to chase across emails, across teams, across various systems of record in order to get this information. Okay, so that's kind of cool. All right, I can ask questions, I can query it, it can be supportive. But what about the actual requests that I get from customers? So I'm going to, mind your eyes, I'll delete that one, that's a prior run. So I'm going to, I'm logging into another tenant here to simulate sending an email from a customer to that procurement agent. As I said, that agent has its own mailbox. Yes, you could set up a shared mailbox that the agent is triggered off, but in this case, we actually wanted to have its own mailbox. So we're going to send a purchase request from a fictitious company, it's 𝗦𝗲𝗀 in this case, to the Java team. All right, so let's start with that. So Java procurement agent, purchase laptop. I'm just using some quick type ahead to make this quick. All right, so I'm going to send this email. Now, if I go back and I switch back to Teams, we will see in a second that this agent is going to pick up this request. Okay, so it's kicked off. Live demos are always, so here we go. So it's picked up the email. It's identifying that it needs to check inventory, suppliers, and in this case, it's actually found 2 suppliers, so it's calling off to another third-party agent to review suppliers and compare it based on thresholds. So let me expand some of this chain of thought, and you can see what it's done. All right, I'll just zoom in so folks can see. So at the very bottom, it's asking me to confirm. Now, this is the human in the loop part. This agent or its configuration is set up to say, always ask me for approvals. You can then change over time to say, only ask me for approvals for above $10,000, or only ask me for approvals after 100 units, or only ask me for approvals when this customer's order pattern deviates from its normal. So this is where risk mitigation with agents becomes really critical, and this human in the loop process. In this case, it's asking for me to confirm. So I'm just going to oblige. So approved. So this will take a second, and it will post the PO into the ERP and into the delivery tracker. So this has now created this order automatically. Remember, I haven't lifted a finger except other than type approve. I didn't have to stay monitoring this in Teams. This is just for the demo. Okay, so the key to using agents in the workplace is really around what we talked about, trust. Trust comes from being able to observe it, and being able to observe it is really around, can I rely on it to achieve my outcomes? I've got a role in my job as a procurement manager. I need to make sure that anything I bring in to accomplish those goals is going to be successful. So it's not just important for IT and security to be able to oversee what agents are doing, as we've shown earlier in other sessions. We're going to drop into it from the point of view of the procurement manager. So we're going to look in to see what everything this agent is doing. So you can see at the top there, it's where the comment was in Excel. And the one just below it is actually where this email thread was kicked off. So let's drill into this one. All right. So this observability is where we get the trust. This is where we get to have confidence to say, I don't want to always hit approved, set up guardrails, you monitor it, you get to track all the KPIs and the performance of these agents. So We are going to drill in and just do a little bit of digging. So here's the email. So I feel confident that's what came in. I identified suppliers, went off, came up with some input, came back with these 2 suppliers as we saw, and called off to a third-party insights agent, and then verified, and you can see here actually, against our policy guide that we gave. So as it was checking on this supplier, it was going against the grounding of that document, which was critical for how you want to proceed. Then there was the human in the loop part, and ultimately the purchase order being posted. Okay, so obviously we talked around Agents 365 being critical to secure and govern all the agents in your enterprise. As our departments, IT departments and CISOs feel comfortable that they've got total control around these agents, they're compliant, there's policies, more and more we're going to unlock agents to show up in the workforce to help us really scale our impact and help us reach that higher ambition level with the fewer hours in the day that we have. So a real pleasure to present this, and I'm going to hand you back to Caroline here, and yeah, hand you back. No, where are you? Over there?
I'm next to you.
Right there.
Sneak in.
Oh, sneak in.
We're going to wrap up. I was going to say, pause for him. I love that demo. I think many of us have gotten really used to mentioning a colleague. To be able to do that for me, that's the part of that. It's like, oh, okay, now I can really use this within my productivity app surfaces. I love that part of the demo. Okay, thank you so much. As we go about your varied day, you go to other sessions, there are just 3 big things I'd love you to remember about Agent 365. First, control plane for all agents. Singular location for IT to discover, secure, manage every AI agent within their organization. Second, when employees know exactly what agents are doing, which is what you just saw Ray walk through, and why, they are that much more empowered to use them and to adopt AI. We think that transparency isn't just a feature. It's not just sort of a cute thing that we do in front of you, that this is really the key to unlocking trust that employees have to deploy agents and really scaling the impact that this technology can have across your business. And then finally, we're not just making agents secure and manage, we're also making them really simple and easy to find and use. So the part of the demo that you saw where Ray just really quickly found that. IT had done the work, as he said, to create the availability of these agents for your users. Let's make sure people can find them quickly. If they can install an app and run an app, they can use an agent. No sort of complex onboarding or training that's needed. Please try it out. It's available now. If you have not heard of Frontier, Frontier is Microsoft's early access program for AI innovations in Microsoft 365. So the way that this works is if you are not an IT admin, your IT admin needs to say yes in Mac. That is the step that is required. You can follow this QR code to a link that will tell you all about Agent 365. We've written a lot about it. We will continue to write about it. And gives you more information about what Frontier is if you're not already a part of it. It's an awesome program that lets you have access to these and other types of features. There are other sessions. If you did not go to Nomirov's session yesterday, it is recorded. Please take time to watch it. You heard us mention a couple times the concept of applying Agent 365 to other agents. If you are interested in our SDK and how that works, please go see BRK 3 or 5. This is where we're talking all about how you can apply Agent 365 to agents that you're bringing within your ecosystem. And finally, just thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your feedback. It's really been the driving force behind how we've developed this product. We've heard from you what you need in order to be able to really take advantage of agents, and it's frankly inspired all the work that you see here today. So thank you for joining us. Tell us how we did if you have a moment. Thank you.